Hey, you random stranger. It has been far too long. It's good to be back, and I hope that you're doing well wherever you are and that you are ready for a crazy couple of chapters ahead. Actually, today we are going to go through 5 chapters. Nothing much happened last time. Just Phos going to the moon, meeting the head honcho, discovering the field of ground up gems being snacked on by the Admirabilis, and they're now returning home with an entire Lunarian army at their back, a pearl surveillance eye, and a plan to convince the other gems to betray Sensei. So, yeah, nothing much at all. In the ensuing weeks since the last reading, I really have come to feel that with Houseki no Kuni, the trick is to constantly keep tabs on what's gone on before, the pieces of information that we've picked up on, explicit or not, and then match those to what is going on right now. Because the present often reveals things about the past, it shines a new contextual light on it, and vice versa as well. Past events very often add detail to the present, which is what is so cool about Houseki no Kuni. It's this detailed world building that rewards you with being able to draw together so many different threads, and just start to build out an even richer theory of what's going on. So I hope you're settled in with a nice cuppa and some comfortable cushions or whatever, because this recap is going to be a little bit long. Of course, feel free to use the timestamps down below to skip to whatever part you want to. I will be going through the crazy things that we learned last time, but also be drawing on stuff that happened way back in the earlier volumes that helps answer a couple of questions. And for the first time, really, since starting this manga, I feel like more answers than questions are starting to emerge, which is like amazing. Of course, there's still the presence of lots of questions, but it's all starting to slowly click. The key emphasis is on the phrase starting to, because you just never know when Ichikawa is going to throw a wrench in the works. I'm also going to try and do this recap in a structured way, because there was a lot of information to process from last time, especially with Aechmea telling his version of the origin story and explaining for the first time what the Lunarians are actually trying to accomplish. And of course, as always, I would love your guys' thoughts on any of the points that I bring up, because I always learn something new from your comments, which has been awesome. All right, okay, so let's start with the Lunarians and their massive moon pad, the city, and I guess the goal that they're trying to get to. So the first interesting thing that I noticed when they landed was the way that they let down their hair. So the Lunarians, as we've known them so far, when they attack, they come riding in on these huge lotus flowers, which is a Buddhist symbol of spiritual purity. And they have these like tight hairstyles with the top knot and clothing that make them appear to be bodhisattvas or people on the path of enlightenment. But as soon as they get back home, they let their hair down. You notice that they're wearing clothes that look like Roman togas, and they do act more like Roman revellers who are all about the good life and the partying and celebrating the fact that they've found this lovely mint green gem. And also, Aechmea clearly loves his food and drink. And all of that seems to be the opposite, really, of what a pure, pious soul working towards freedom from pleasures is. So, in a way, the heavy Buddhist symbolism and outward appearance feels like a purposeful deception by the Lunarians, probably trying to present themselves as pure to Sensei, and as deserving of prayer. So we know Aechmea also uses clothing as a form of manipulation when he said that they wear the clothes of the beings that Sensei should bow down to, like the business suit that he has on. Clearly, like what the human or humans that Sensei was created for wore. Yako Yavanen mentioned something interesting about Aechmea drinking in that garden. So, remember the significance of the number 108 in certain streams of Buddhist thought? There are 108 worldly desires or defilements, and Yako mentioned that dipsomania or craving the craving for alcohol is one of them. So could Houseki no Kuni's story be systematically going through each of them? Yeah, I thought that the reveal that Aechmea is so into the fine wines and the fine dining was very interesting. I don't know if they're necessarily working through each of the worldly desires, but it does show that the Lunarians still have these so-called impurities in them, and hence why they're stuck on the moon. On the theme of the Lunarians not being what they present themselves to be, it reminded me tangentially of Phos. The question of, now that they're much less than 50% actual phosphofolite, is it still accurate to call them Phos? Now, it's a bit different in that Phos didn't deliberately set out to change so much physically, at least not directly, but still the question, is this person who they say they are, is really strong no matter which character you look at in Houseki no Kuni. So moving on, we also find out what it is that Aechmea and Lunarians, or maybe it's just Aechmea, want. So despite how happy-go-lucky the Lunarians look, Aechmea says that they're forcing it and that they're exhausted. And then he describes a typical human life, like eating, shitting, loving, fighting, but repeated in perpetuity for eternity. And he laments how they're constantly fighting against the angst that comes from never progressing. So it turns out that they don't want to become human again. They want to become nothing. So Ventricosis' understanding of the Lunarians' goal was actually wrong. She was right about one thing, though. When explaining to Phos what death is back in Volume 2, she said that in exchange for taking everything away, death gives life value, and it's not such a terrible thing. And that pinpoints why the Lunarians, much like the gems, particularly the older ones like Yellow and Padpa, are so tired and so done with living because there is no end to it. Oh, actually, a side note on Padpa. So remember, Padpa is also another illusion or allusion to spiritual purity. The name Padparadsha, as we were told in the previous volume, is derived from the Sanskrit Padmaranga, meaning lotus color. And I thought it was cool to remember that when Phos was asked by one of the gems who they wanted to be when they grew up, and Phos answered Padpa. So it's just yet another nod to Phos's path towards enlightenment, which I thought was awesome. Okay, so what does becoming nothing involve? And according to Aechmea, it's being absorbed into the alternate universe where souls are broken down into their purest form, or in other words, deconstructed, where there is eternal nothingness and where, to quote Aechmea, no one becomes anyone. Which weirdly, I felt again alluded to Phos, because being made up of 6 to 11 different minerals, including another gem, and given their past history of being a bit of a nobody, Phos is sort of a no one who has become or is becoming anyone. Just something interesting to tuck into the back pocket. Anyway, Aechmea reveals that the Lunarians are those who received no prayers when they were human. So they are souls who have not yet been broken down, which is why they need Sensei, the prayer machine, to start working again. And then again from Aechmea, only the purest spirit with all extraneous material removed, can ever reach it. To remove those impurities, the spirit requires prayers of a separate living human. Quality is irrelevant. Which brings us to the whole kettle of fish of what Sensei is, and what he was created for. So the big reveal was that he is a machine that the last human, i.e., the doctor, created. Apparently, Sensei can destroy the human body and deconstruct the soul instantaneously. And it's fascinating piecing together Sensei's story based on Aechmea's telling of it, because I feel like, reading it through again, that there are some glaring inconsistencies, and I honestly don't know if it's because it's me that's misreading it, or if Aechmea is being deliberately opaque, or there is an actual inconsistency with Ichikawa's narrative. So I'll lay out all my thoughts, and then if anyone knows anything or has any different opinions, please do tell me. Okay, so Aechmea says that Sensei was originally created from a sentimental standpoint to prevent the last human from feeling lonely. Okay, which implies that when Sensei was created, there was only one human left, the female doctor who created him. And it fits with why Sensei seems to possess an ability to love and to emote and to communicate, because his purpose was to be a friend, basically. And it also explains why he seems to be so attached to the doctor. However, Aechmea also said that the machine was created to help us. So us being humans, or rather the spirits of those humans who need to be deconstructed through prayer. So somehow, even though Sensei was originally created to alleviate the last human's loneliness, he later became a machine for prayer. Here's the problem. If Sensei was created by the last remaining human on Earth, the Lunarians, or the spirits of the humans who needed prayer, would have had to have been ejected out of their bodies before Sensei was created. The idea being that the last human, the doctor, while having created Sensei initially for themselves, later added the purpose of it also praying for spirits she knew were stuck elsewhere. But that's impossible too, because when Aechmea recounts the origin story, he says they only found out that the spirit is ejected from the body while the flesh and bones return to the planet at the end of human civilization. Now, according to that telling, if there were spirits already stuck on the moon, then human civilization would have already ended, and there would have been no last human to create Sensei, because there would have been no humans at all. Unless when Aechmea said that Sensei was created to prevent the last human from being lonely, it was a preemptive move. So imagine there were lots of humans around, and then the doctor created Sensei in anticipation that the last human would feel lonely. But then that turned into the last human also needs a final machine to pray for them, as there's not going to be another human to do so. But then after some time, the humans abused that and turned it into, well, since we've got a prayer machine anyway, instead of us having to put in the effort of praying, let's just use the machine. And then the final meteor crashed into the earth, and that's when the last humans jumped into the ocean and dissolved into 3 parts, leaving the machine or Sensei behind. So that fits in with what we're told. It also explains maybe why Sensei doesn't want to pray for the Lunarians. Using and abusing machine created for the last human because you're too lazy to develop spiritually and pray yourself really fits in with why Sensei might think that the Lunarians, or at least the humans that they were ejected from, don't deserve prayer or deserve peace. Clearly, Sensei distinguishes, on the one hand, a human he respects, like the doctor, and on the other, the dregs of humanity, which is what he called the ice flows. He called them sinners. In fact, I have a theory that the ice flows might be the remains of the body and bones of the humans that the Lunarians themselves were ejected from. The way that the Lunarians carry themselves to and revel in riches and food and drinking and want a machine to do the praying for them is also maybe consistent with a typical representation of what a sinner is. So that theory kind of works. It does raise other questions though, like why was it expected that there would only be one last human remaining, when clearly what actually happened was a bunch of humans died at the end because we have all of these Lunarians who are now stuck in limbo. Unless there was something wrong with human reproduction, which meant that mathematically that eventually there would be only one human left. I don't know. Again, yeah, any help from you guys would be greatly appreciated. Okay, there's still so much more to go through, including how ironic it is that humans created a final machine to pray for them, given that prayer is a spiritual realm activity that is intimately related to the soul. There's also an inherent tension or inconsistency with how Aechmea says that prayer must be done by another living human, but then like in the next breath says that Sensei must be fixed in order to pray for them, when he doesn't see Sensei as anything more than just a machine. So either there's a huge disconnect there, or Sensei has reached a level of sentience that makes him essentially human. So remember, like, quality is irrelevant, right? He seems to be a human even though he's not, and so that's why his prayers work. The way Aechmea describes Sensei's breakdown is also interesting because he muses that, to think the interior would break down first. And it seems like he's referring to Sensei actually developing a heart and emotions and a will of his own, all very human things. The fact that he sees those things as defects is really telling of the rather dehumanizing lens he views every other life form, including the gems and the admirables. He also mentions, referring to Sensei again, that apparently the humans didn't give much thought to the future of their creations, which calls back to earlier when Sensei is talking to the game board, that it wasn't created with a specific purpose in mind, and we never thought about what could happen to things we created when they reached their end, did we? So it does sound like when he was talking to the game board, Sensei was actually talking in his mind to the doctor who created him. Who created him, it seems, without a clear end in mind. And if the constant changing of Sensei's purpose is true, so from being made to alleviate loneliness, which is a fairly wholesome purpose, I think, to being a machine to send off the last human, then to being a machine who was forced to pray for any human who didn't want to do it themselves, I can start to understand why Sensei would have been scarred emotionally from all those changes. Maybe Phos, by becoming progressively more human, is the one who will finally send the Lunarians off through prayer. And there was a bit of foreshadowing of that when Aechmea said to Phos, you are the one who will save us. I can feel it. I just don't think that it will come about in a way that he expects. Next, it was interesting thinking about the question, how does knowing Sensei is a machine change what we know about him? And first, the way that he uses tiny shards of his own body as weapons. So we saw back in volume 5 that he dropped the extra parts of himself that he didn't use in the fight back into the ocean rather than glue them back on, suggesting that he can't be put back together unlike the gems. And I think that's because as a machine, he doesn't have the organic inclusions that can adapt to similar or new materials. And so when he says of himself that it's despicable, I think there might be a bit of internalized shame about being man made. Imagine him having to tell his kids, like, I don't have the most basic functions that you all have, the natural ability to heal and to regenerate, because I was synthetically made. Actually a fake gem. And also remember when Ventricosis couldn't nibble on Sensei like she did the other gems? That was probably also due to Sensei being made of artificial hexagonal diamond rather than being natural stone. So second is Sensei's sleepiness. Maybe because he's been fighting the Lunarians for so long and the missing broken off parts are starting to add up and are slowing down his ability to function. Or maybe he's just coming undone the longer he resists his true function of prayer. I'm not sure. And then thirdly, which is really interesting, is Sensei's view of civilization. So according to Aechmea, Sensei holds back civilizational progress by not allowing the introduction of technology into the gem world due to the trauma he's had with machines, or rather the trauma of being one. So he really called Sensei a Luddite. There's also the whole, it would keep his identity as a machine secret as well. Sensei, of course, was programmed to not share the truth about humans. And it's fascinating to think about how there's this contrast between the industrial, machine-powered society of the humans and the Lunarians that emphasizes maximizing production at any cost, including, subjugating an entire species of Admirables and turning them into mindless livestock, versus Sensei and the gems' more nature-based, hunter-gatherer, sustainable society that focuses on artisanry and craftsmanship and, respecting the environment. And knowing there's that difference helps make sense of the whole of don't waste anything approach that we saw right from the beginning. So remember in volume 2 in the ocean when Ventricosis has retaken her true form and then tells Phos to just throw away the basket, and Phos is horrified and says, no, I can't, we're taught to take good care of things. There seems to be a culture of using everything well and being sustainable, and that applies to everything like Peridot's paper, Rutile's medicines, Red Barrel's cloth, and it all makes sense now. With Sensei not wanting or being incapable of introducing machines to gem society, that also partly explains the gem's attitude towards knowledge. So going back to volume 1, when OG Phos is stuck filling in their blank encyclopedia and they go around asking gems for advice on what to write about, the other gems are like, well, we already know everything that's useful to know. And this idea of not having to learn beyond what you already know is very reminiscent of many pre-industrial societies where you could just rely on knowledge that has been handed down for centuries or millennia even. as opposed to societies that have undergone industrialization and all of its accompanying benefits and woes, including modes of mass production and market-driven competition and efficiency, where knowledge translates into increased productivity and prosperity, but also sometimes increased exploitation and negative externalities. So I don't know if Ishikawa is presenting some kind of sneaky social commentary there, but it's certainly fun to theorize about. Other questions I felt were answered include why the Lunarians don't attack at night. At first I thought it was because torturing Sensei with the shine of the moon at night was enough. Like, we don't have to physically attack you at this moment because our psychological attack of your ground up kids being spread across our moon is infinitely worse. But more likely, I think it's because the clouds the Lunarians use to ride in on are made up from the same metals and mineral oils that their city is made up of. The ones that seep up from under the moon's surface. And when Aechmea gives Phos the tour, he tells them that those materials soften at night and solidifies again in the morning, hence why they have to wait till morning to attack, I presume. We also find out the real reason that the Lunarians kidnap gems. Again, it's not because they need the Admirables and the gems to return to being humans. It turns out that they just kidnap the gems to piss off Sensei, to shock him, or to try and shock him back to his factory settings. And I assume they use and breed the Admirables for the agate in their shells to help with creating their synthetic stones. Speaking of trying to torture Sensei, we also now know that the gem shards that the Lunarians leave behind in their weapons are fake. They're synthetic. They're made from the materials that, again, that rise to the surface of the moon along with the mineral oils. And that happens because the moon they live on was part of Earth before it was broken off by the meteor crash. And so it has a similar material composition. And that's why they have those giant machine compressors to replicate the process by which organic gems are made on Earth over millions of centuries, although still not quite 100% successfully. Yeah, so Craig Starbird had an interesting theory about how the Lunarians would use the high-quality replica gems. They wrote maybe in the past the Lunarians would bring back pieces of fake gems in the original form to try and torment Sensei up close with limbs from his missing gems. And I think that's totally what they did. And if so, maybe it's another contributing factor to Sensei thinking that their souls undeserving of prayer. One last thing that we confirmed, the Admirables are being raised on a diet of ground up gems. You not only see the giant snails grazing on the moon's surface, but Ventricosis did say that they are fattened up on the sweet water and sand of the moon, which is awful. I'm not sure if eating gems in that form is what turns them into mindless creatures, or if there's something else that the Lunarian does to them. But there is some hope though, because I have a correction to make from last time. Rutiel actually said the opposite of what I thought they said. Basically, even if ground into a fine powder, the original gem can be restored. It's just a pain in the ass for Rutiel to do so. So I guess all of the gems, even the ground up ones, are technically recoverable, even if they have been consumed as snail food, because all they would have to do is extract the gem residues from their shells. So there's a bit of hope there. It means that we may see like Antark and Ghost and all of the other gems in the future. All right, let's talk about Phos. So I might have overreacted to seeing Phos just willy-nilly accepting food from Aechmea, But there is another reason why I find their choice to even eat interesting. Remember back in volume 1 where Daya is horrified that Ventricosus in slug form would eat grass. And remember, so they had thought that Ventricosus was really Phos. And the words that they used were, oh, you'll get your insides dirty, that's barbaric. So Phos eating is another kind of rejection of their own culture and how they've been raised. At the very least, it's a sign of their open-mindedness to doing things differently, and even a willingness to accept the Lunarians given enough reason. In fact, there have been many signs of Phos being relatively more accepting of the Lunarians even before they knew what they really were. So for example, when Ventricosus finishes telling Phos their version of the origin story, which ended up to be not so accurate, she says that the Lunarians are too dreadful to understand. They're just a bunch of restless, warmongering spirits. But later, Phos replies back, well, why do we have to fight? If what you're saying is true, then the spirit was part of our people too. We were all one, right? So very like you two, one love style. So Phos really has never had a one-track combative mindset when it comes to the Lunarians, even though of course they were traumatized and very angry over the kidnappings of gems like Antark and Ghost. It's just that their frustration expresses itself very differently from, say, a gem like Alex, who thinks about the Lunarians every single day in order to keep their anger at them fresh, in their own words. Even towards the ice flows, Foss is like, why don't we just talk to them and ask them nicely not to scream? So it makes sense that Foss's response to the Lunarians, instead of pure hatred, is to think of a way to end the war using whatever means necessary, even if it means to cooperate with them. And this flexibility from Phos also matches the way that their inclusions work. So remember, Rutiel back in volume 6 said that generally inclusions are hard to please and averse to change. Even if the new material has a similar makeup, it does take some time for the inclusions to accept it. Except, of course, for the happy-go-lucky inclusions that this freak has, i.e. Phos. Phos is the exception of all exceptions. So the scientists really know what they're talking about, because even the Lunarian lead scientist, or whoever it was that was giving Phos the tour of their synthesis factory, said to Phos, "You're the first one I've seen who has been so cooperative." You know, beyond that, I think there's another reason why I think Phos took so quickly to Aechmea and his ideas, and that's because they connect over being the sole deep thinkers and loners in their respective societies. Or maybe not deep thinkers, it's more they are the rebels of their societies. So you see this when Aechmea is depressed and talking about their meaningless existence and the ennui of it all, and the other Lunarians sort of gather around and tell him to just cheer up and to move on. It's almost identical to what Phos went through with the other gems, who weren't sure at all how to handle all the angst that came with the trauma of losing their partners. And so that's why you ended up with weird, happy, creepy Phos who was like, I'm happy, you know, this is the old me now. And then even though it was so fake, it just kind of put the other gems at rest, because they were like, oh yeah, you know, that's more normal. Also the part where Phos is talking to Cicada, who's telling Phos how much they all love their prince, and of course they all trust him, and Phos just like rolls their eyes and says, oh, this all sounds so familiar. So oddly enough, Aechmea and Phos I guess see a kindred spirit in the other. However, we've got to be careful here, because Aechmea clearly still just sees Phos as a gem, as a thing. And here I want to bring in a great comment from Ingrid Pamela Gonzalez Evia, who wrote how the Lunarians treat the gems and why Phos might have felt that, there was no other choice but to cooperate. So they wrote, Lunarians have been capturing the gems slowly with traps, grinding and tearing them apart like they're nothing. Same as the experiment with the human particle, it's like they are playing with life without any consideration of what this creation might experience. Phos may feel like they're being cornered to cooperate with a stronger force that doesn't have the slightest empathy for them, and feeling that they're being used like the human particle. Note that Aechmea forcibly took out Phos's eye and replaced it without any warning or care. In the same way, all of the truth he said to Phos is framed in a way that suggests that cooperating is the only possible way to stop their attacks. Yeah, I agree that the power balance here is very uneven, and I don't think there's any illusion on Phos's part that they are in any position to threaten Aechmea or to save all of the gems without having to make some kind of compromise. On the driving the pearl eye into Phos, isn't it so strange that Aechmea just so happened to have the eye and the dagger handy? It's almost as if he knew that Phos had no other choice. We also know that Aechmea generally is so detached and ready to do anything to achieve his nothingness that humane treatment of any other life form isn't that important to him, whether that's Sensei, the Admirables, or the gems. He even refers to their human ancestors as animals. The next thing was about Phos feeling sick. So thank you, Johanna Tsuchima and Barry McCoconut, for pointing out that it might be a side effect of Phos becoming more human. And every time that they feel sick, you see that white floating thing, which does look like human DNA. And so I guess now is a good time for a quick recap on how many of the 7 treasures of the treasure tower that Phos has accumulated, i.e. how close are they to achieving ultimate human enlightenment. So the 7 treasures are gold, silver, lapis lazuli, seashell, agate, pearl, and something called carnelian. Phos has 5 of those in the bag already. They're legs of seashell and agate, arms of the gold platinum alloy, Lapis's head, and then most recently the pearl eye, which leaves the silver and the carnelian. It is arguable that Phos already has the silver too, because the name platinum is derived from a Spanish word meaning little silver, but I'm not sure about that. Another theory that I like is that the silver might have something to do later on with Cinnabar, which is also known as quicksilver or liquid silver. I don't know how I feel about Cinnabar potentially becoming a part of Phos too. I don't even know how that would work given that Lapis is already there and it's a bit of a crowded house, but I guess we'll see. So Phos has come very far, not just in terms of the treasure tower and becoming human, but also it's breathtaking how much their personality and their motivations have evolved. So far, in my mind, there have been 3 distinct stages of Phos. So we had OG Phos, who just wanted to be powerful and useful and change everything about themselves. A classic case of be careful what you wish for. And they ended up wanting to help Cinnabar find a new job. And that's why they ventured out into the ocean for the first time, because they knew that that job wouldn't be found anywhere on land. Then stage 2 was freshly traumatized Phos, who is now powerful, but who became obsessed with finding out the truth of Sensei's relationship with the Lunarians, even to the point of risking the life of another gem, so Ghost, to do so. No longer are they really concerned with finding Cinnabar a new job. even when Stage 2 Phos, asked Cinnabar to help them expose Sensei, it wasn't really about helping Cinnabar. It was more because they recognized that they're not smart enough nor careful enough to be able to do it on their own. Which leads you to Stage 3 Phos, also known as Laphos, who actually no longer needs Cinnabar, having come into possession of Lapis's head and smarts and observation skills. And, actually I'm glad that Cinnabar didn't go with Phos to the moon, because what if the Lunarians had discovered that their mercury completely melts the gems? And I have no doubt in my mind that they would have figured out a way to turn Cinnabar into some kind of ultimate weapon. So where we are now in the story, Laphos also has the truth now, or at least most of it, including the truth of what Sensei truly is and why he seemed so sus. So their new motivation now is to end the kidnappings and the war, even if it involves betraying Sensei and helping the Lunarians restore their prayer machine. So there is, in so many ways, the ultimate tragedy unfolding before us. Not that the story wasn't tragic before, but we are building to an ultimate confrontation between Phos and Sensei and the other gems. Again, we're such a long way from when OG Phos so innocently said out loud that the reason they want to fight, despite being so brittle and weak, is because they love Sensei, to now they're setting up the betrayal of Sensei in order to stop the fighting. So what do we think about Phos's plan? For me, Padpa's earlier warning is really flashing in my mind. So they said the pure, honest truth might raise the entire landscape and change it in a way that you never expected. So keep a cool head and tread carefully. I can't say if Phos's plan of getting all of the gems to turn on Sensei counts as keeping a cool head and treading carefully. It's really sad that Phos themselves, without even knowing it, kind of foreshadowed this betrayal as well. So after the whole Ghost fiasco, where they stopped themselves from saving Ghost just to see what Sensei would do, remember they thought to themselves, I don't mean to betray everyone, but every time that I try and find out about Sensei's secrets, I end up with more of my own. Am I going to keep repeating this forever, all alone? And I don't know, man. I just can't see most of the gems joining Phos. Remember, most of the gems who were taken did not cooperate. Also, remember how furious Antak was when the Lunarians snatched up their hand, because Antak was scared that it might have contained the memories of Sensei in it. And I think all of the gems love Sensei that deeply, so it's gonna be a real uphill battle for Phos. However, I don't think Phos will be completely alone. Out of all the gems, Cairngorm seems to be the most attached to Phos, largely due to Lapis, but also they sensed the similarity between Phos and Lapis even before Phos got Lapis's head, and even before Cairngorm, was out of Ghost's body. So Cairngorm also doesn't have that much faith in Sensei being capable of retrieving any of the stolen gems. And so if there's even a chance that following Phos to the moon means that they will be reunited with Ghost and with Lapis, they might consider it. Iseno Alpha also made an excellent point that Phos would need to play into the gems' various insecurities to get them to go. And I was thinking about what those might be for the individual gems. So for yellow, I think the chance of stopping the war might just be enough to convince them, given how tired they are of it all and just how meaningless they see it as. And for Rutiel, interestingly, it might be the promise of being able to use the Lunarians' abilities of gem synthesis to further their progress in restoring Padpa. On the other hand, you have Bort and Alex, coincidentally the two who are the most obsessed with fighting against the Lunarians. I can't see them taking to the idea of having a nice, friendly cultural exchange with the Lunarians. And Daya, despite not really having a great time in the war either, with their insecurities about not being as good as Bort, they love Bort too much to be anywhere near, going against them. So, will Phos's plan work? Maybe. I think the more likely outcome is that there's going to be a split, like potentially even a gem civil war, which is like the last thing I want to see. I love when they're all just playing happy family together. Like imagine going from having pillow fights to having actual brutal internal civil strife. Yeah, so it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm pretty sure about that. So, final throwaway thought. We know that Variegatus of the Admirabilist mentioned that they are intending one day to invade the moon and recover their lost family members. So, I just wonder, what would they think of Phos seemingly joining the side of the Lunarians and just helping them all of a sudden? But I guess that is a very minor point compared to everything that's about to happen. So yeah, that brings us to the point where we're going to finally dive into chapter 57. Oh god, so I have no idea what's going to happen. All right, chapter 57, Crossroads. As Phos's that's right, they had their new uniform decked out by the Lunarians. And just, it's so weird seeing them sitting on the lap of the big Buddha. How the tables have turned and the turns have tabled. So they're actually heading back to Earth. Cicada. Oh, they're actually sitting on Cicada. How long was I on the moon? That's right. So they, as soon as they leave the moon, that they can't speak because the atmosphere is too different. 49 days, huh? It's a little soon to be going back. And it's too soon to trust Aechmea. I doubt I managed to get everything out of him yet. But at least I know that for the time being, the Lunarians' goal is to get their prayer machine working so they can turn into nothing. And as long as it looks like I'm helping, like I'm sincerely helping them, they won't have a reason to take any of us away. Okay. So, yeah. It's good to see at least that Phos is not, like, they're playing their own long game in this, and the Lunarians are sort of just another tool that they're manipulating in order to stop the war. It's a lonely game though, like have to balance all of these opposing sides and people and not look sus yourself. That's gonna be pretty hard. So this is sort of like a double spy mission, I guess. I wish I could tell the other gems the truth, but no one would believe that Sensei is a tool. Moreover, a broken down tool made by animals from the past. Instead, they'll think my time on the moon drove me crazy and they'll mark me as an enemy. And if that happens, I won't even be able to have a normal conversation. All true. And I guess remember even Rutiel, like when Phos slightly brought up the idea that Sensei might be breakable, Rutiel was like, that's crazy. So yeah, definitely, okay, smart. I'll have to start by working carefully but quickly. to rip them away from Sensei. I don't know why I expected Phos to still feel love for Sensei. Like maybe they do, but it seems like they have really buried it underneath a much greater concern for their other gem brothers. So they've chosen their gems over Sensei. It's just very complicated. Pop. Oh, we're here? That was fast. Oh, I didn't get to see this on my way to the moon. There's no color. Is that because of the camouflage membrane? I'm impressed. Oh, wow. So it's sort of like an invisibility cloak, I guess. The other thing I should do is get some of that lunar technology. Interesting, again, just another rejection or just another way of doing things from the gems who don't embrace technology at all. If we can get Sensei working again and end the war, then I'll negotiate with Aechmea to give me some as payment for my cooperation. This is so Slytherin. If the moon has technology that advanced, then maybe we can rebuild everyone from sand, yes, and get the venom out of Cinnabar. Nice. Although, I don't know, if you change Cinnabar's composition or remove the poison, doesn't that turn them not into Cinnabar? I don't know. Anyway, the first step is the most important. I have to get them all away somehow. If I can't do that, I'll be moon sand. Wow, I'm nervous. Poke. Are you sure you'll be okay? I'm pretty sure everyone's really going to be trying to defeat you, so the mission's not making you anxious or any. Oh my goodness. Cicada, what happened to you? Shh. Oh, I guess you'll be fine. Oh no, I really liked Cicada. Just seems to be all big, but he's actually a really big cuddly teddy bear. And what have they done to his face? He's wearing like a war mask. Yipe. Are they giving Phos a big hug? It's so weird that Phos has a friendly Lunarian giant so attached to them now. Okay, I get it. I'm gonna be alright. I'll make it work. Oh, so I guess they're piercing the membrane so that Phos can get out, and that's why they see color. Yep, there's color now. So the black spot is a special effect you added when you break the camouflage membrane to make it look like you appeared out of nowhere. That is an impressively elaborate way to harass us. Sigh. Well. So basically the cloud is like a cloaked spy plane. See you later. Phos is being so friendly with them. I guess it's all part of the act, I think. But I do sense that, at least with Cicada in any case, that they are developing some genuine feelings there. You know, when the Lunarians stay away for so long, that means... Who's that? That's Hemi. That means they could show up at any minute, right? It actually makes me more nervous. So just get here already. And if you can, show up where Bort will find you. Maybe it's taking them a long time to decorate with their new catch because Phos is so soft. The scariest things just randomly pop out of your mouth. But seriously, what do they do to us when they take us to the moon? What do they do to decorate other than make weapons? which is a good question. Given all of their failed experiments with the gem replicas, yeah, what do they do with those ones? Oh, let's not talk about this. Yeah. Splash. Gasp. Melon, Hemi, up there. Huh? An upside down black spot? Down there. Oh, that's Sneptian Benita White. Reunited. It's awfully fussy. Hey. No, stop. Don't. Wait. What are they? Oh, are they pretending to pick Phos back up and so the other gens will have to jump in to rescue them? Oh. Cicada's gonna play like the big mean Lunarian. A new type? That one's definitely gonna be tough. And why does this all have to happen at once? Maybe it's a little too much for us younger gems to handle. Safety first, let's call Sensei. Oh no. The fussy thing. Oh, are they remembering the doctor? Like last time that they dropped the doctor down, it wasn't really, it looked like them, but it was actually a Lunarian. Do they think Phos is a Lunarian at this stage? Fine, let's do this. We'll fight with the power of our youth. Oh, look at all those babies. Yeah. Please be safe. It didn't work. I mean, power of youth. It works in certain situations. Come on, young gems, let's go. Is that what? Have they established some kind of new gang called Young Gems? A new political party? Let's go. Yeah. Bort. Oh, I've missed Bort. So odd to say, but I have. Whack. But Bort. Okay, so their weapons are just glancing off the shield that Cicada has. It's very solid. Swoosh. Oh, I mean, this is so weird knowing that Phos knows both sides. But we're sorry, behind it, it's fussy. I know. Okay, how are you gonna get Cicada out of this without looking like sus? Gunk. Oh, got bought by the hair. Oh no, they're gonna be pissed. First sighting of Phos. Oh no, Cicada got decapitated by Sensei. Yep, those are Sensei's parts. Oh, is that Cicada reaching out to Phos? I feel so conflicted. I'm actually feeling sad for Cicada if indeed that is the last that we'll see of him. And Phos just saw him die at the hands of Sensei. Boff. It's so different once you put faces and names to things, even like the Lunarians. I mean, isn't that just a meta lesson on humanity in general? Sensei, fussy, it's a fussy thing. Sensei, look, it's Phos, isn't it? he's seen the pearl eye. I wonder if Sensei will know what the pearl eye is. I don't think he would, because then wouldn't that just end the whole charade right away? He would know that the Lunarians are spying on them using Phos. He recognizes them. He went down on his knees. That's the first time I think that we've seen Sensei go down on his knees, like to be level with the gems. A gem. You came back? Yes, Sensei. I see. Such an understated reaction. Well, really, the first reaction was this one, that bottom left panel on page 113. There's the shock. So he's had a couple of seconds to recalibrate his feelings. I'm so glad. Wow. Oh, that is such a powerful panel with Phos looking down on Sensei. Because up until this point, we've only ever seen the gems look up at him. Damn. R.I.P. Sakata. You're a good friend. Chapter 58, Hope. It's back. They've still got Red Barrel's replicas of the little puppies. Wow, back in their old room. This is... it's gonna be shocking. I wonder if Phos will keep those clothes that they have. This is not a dream. Oh my goodness. Wait, who is that? Cairngorm? That's Cairngorm, sorry. Stay away, stay away, stay away. You're scaring me. What are you wearing? Those clothes. This sword. That highball. Is Retail drooling at the thought of having to dissect Phos to see what that new material is? What happened on the moon? It's so heavy. There you are. Could you do this somewhere else? They're all crowding into Cairngorm's room. I don't remember. Wow, none of them are suspicious at all. I mean, why would they be? If Sensei has given the okay, then they're all okay with it. Well, whether Sensei is suspicious or not remains to be seen. Should have seen that coming. What a convenient cover, given how much they've forgotten in the past few volumes. Phos's special skill. Well, remember. That's Alex. Stop it, Lex. Moon. There, you see, you're making Phos stupid again. These clothes don't disappear. Why is that? How did you get back? So about that big Lunarian. Everyone, I think we should take this a little bit at a time. Yellow, being responsible. Hilarious urchins. Urchins? There were sea urchins on the moon? No. And Phos has totally lost it. Do you remember anything? Back from being stupid. What a relief. The moon is a mysterious place where everything is white, I think. They had a what's it thing called a what's a thingy, and they did stuff. I don't understand a word. I think there were lots of things I'd never seen before. Wow, that sounds kind of awesome. Is that Goshen? Seeing Phos do the dumb act and really leaning into what has gone on in their past, and yeah, you know, the forgetting and the being dumb. It's actually a really good cover. Did you see any other gems? I think I saw some. God. You did? Oh, but it's not like I talked to them or anything. Oh man, I love how Ishikawa did those panels where they're talking about the other gems, but in their mind they're remembering what they felt when they found out that they'd been ground up into sand. I'm sorry, I can't give you any better information. That's okay. Come to think of it, Sensei usually calls us all together to explain what happened. Oh yeah, I was wondering about that too. That's so Hekon. Phos, did you hear anything? No. Sensei hasn't said anything to me since I'm glad you're back on the beach. Well, anyway, it's a shame you don't remember anything, but at any rate, we're glad you're okay. You look a little different, but you're still Phos on the inside. Uh-huh. This is the first time any of us has come back from the moon in one piece. You really are amazing, Phos. Yeah. I mean, I do wonder what Sensei is thinking. I think, is he sort of doing risk assessment and being like, can we really trust anything that the Lunarians have dropped down, even if it seems like Phos is Phos still? You're our ray of hope. Ugh, those lines of dialogue where they're saying something that they don't actually know means a lot more given the context. And Cairngorm does not look happy. Suspicious because obviously Cairngorm is the only one that knew that Phos went to the moon deliberately, and so they've got to, know that there's a lot more than what Phos is letting on. Do you really not remember? Wow, you're annoying. Oh, guess. Lapis could tell a lie with a straight face, and no one would know the truth for 100 years. You're a terrible liar, but I don't trust you. Oh, so Lapis is why you're such a good actor, Cairngorm. Hey, you're kidding, right? I didn't really mean to. Stop that. Whatever, I'm supposed to be activating. Yeah, why aren't they sleeping? I don't want to hear anything that'll keep me awake. If there's no rush, then remember what you have to by autumn. Oh, come on, talk to me. Let's have a quiz game to see if I remember anything. Ugh, you are such a pest. I'm going to bed. It's the same happy, a bit airheaded act with Phos. I love that little factoid about Lapis being a great liar and how the secret would remain a secret for 100 years. Okay, so Cairngorm does still seem to completely trust Phos. They just know that they're keeping things to themselves and they're fine with that, which is, I guess, built up from having worked with Lapis for so long. That's probably how Lapis operated as well. And then back to real thinking, sad Phos. The answer is, I do remember. I was going to do it all myself. But after talking to you, I started wanting your help. And I don't know what to do. They're saying all of that out loud, right? Yeah, and Sensei is right behind them. Oh god, Phos, you gotta be more careful. Just walks right past her. Ooh. Sensei is suspicious, man. I mean, I think he suspects something. Just a hey. Sensei. What? Don't you have any questions for me or anything? No. What? No way, but you must have a ton of things to say, like how I can't keep wearing these clothes, or like, all the mistakes. I see no problems. Oh my god, is it true that you were a tool made by the humans? Are those cracks in the column, were they already there, or did that question cause Sensei to freak out a bit and cause those cracks? Man, it feels like a game of cat and mouse, And I feel like honestly Sensei would recognize those clothes and, the sword, and recognize that the Lunarians have done something to Phos. Yes, it's true. Wait a second. So, okay, the whole being programmed to not be able to speak of the secrets of the humans, does that not apply if someone is asking you a question? But that's not true either, because before Phos was asking the questions and Sensei was like, I can't tell you. Eh? That's a pretty direct question about humans, though. Yeah, okay, anyway. Shock, Phos. Don't you want to know where I found out or who told me? No. Are you mocking me? No, why? Don't you want to know why I came back? This is what happened last time when Foster spilled the beans of everything that they knew, because Sensei was just being so blasé, and oh god. No, I'm happy just knowing that you are back. Oh man, playing the tug at the heartstrings card. I can't get a single reaction. So you don't care if I go to the moon, you don't care what I do, is that what you're saying? Of course, it makes perfect sense. Even Aechmea's most cunning, ruthless plots have been eternally useless against the stubborn lunk. It may be that our betrayal won't even faze the blockhead. No, I won't know until I try. Oh, Phos. I don't know, Isn't Phos just missing all the signals that Sensei just loves them and is like genuinely does not care what they did, how they got that information, as long as they're back. Nothing else matters. But then the way that Phos is interpreting it is that he's just a machine and is emotionless and doesn't care. But ironically, it's because he cares so much that he's like this. Just talk, guys. So let's get started. Your left eye won't close. This eyeball is probably made of pearl, layers of aragonite that form when a foreign substance enters a seashell. Is it from the moon? That's my rutiel. Mind if I gouge it out for a second? Gouge? Sure. What a conversation to have with your doctor. On the moon, I saw technology for synthesizing gems. I knew it! Oh my god, that was... Yeah, this is the play with rutiel. They were making gemstone after gemstone with no inclusions. It made me think. So sneaky. Of Peperacha. There's that, you see the hook being sunk into rutiel's conscience. And it's like planting that little seed. of rebellion. Ugh, I hate this, and I'm really enjoying this game of intrigue though. I think this is a really interesting twist. Chapter 59, Unrest. That's something I just remembered. Just something that I remembered. Just random. Are you saying paparazzi could get treatment on the moon? No, I really have no idea about that. But I saw a lot of tools that I didn't recognize on the moon, and technology that we've never heard of. You know what? For now, I'm gonna hang on to this eyeball. See how things go. Phos. It's Phos like, oh man. I feel like Phos is at the center, like a spider at the center of the web, just like tugging all those little strands. Sigh. Pick at their weaknesses and get them to act for themselves. It's the only way I could think of to arouse the least amount of suspicion. Still, it's a rotten way to go, but I can't go moping about every little problem. 28. No, it's 27 now. One down, 27. Oh no, 27 because Ghost was taken, right? Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. Oh no, they're talking about in 27 days, Cicada will come for us. I have to hurry. Oh, wait. So the Lunarian that was killed on the beach or evaporated on the beach wasn't Cicada? Oh. Since Cairngorm is asleep, I was thinking I'd just go ahead and patrol all by myself wherever I wanted to go. Permission granted. What? Just like that? You're kidding. Are you really sure? Are you feeling up to it? Huh? Yes. Then I see no problem. There's that love again. Well, in that case, I'm off. There's that love again. So Sensei's waiting to see if I'll sink myself, eh? Again, it's so funny because at the beginning of the series, I was so sus on Sensei. I was like, ugh, he's definitely hiding something. He's probably the bad guy in this series. And now Phos is being me. No, Phos is being over suspicious, I think. I know Sensei is barely giving me a second glance these days. But to let me run free when I'm obviously acting suspicious, what is the rockhead thinking? Sensei must be confident. Well, that makes sense. Congo is the hardest substance in the world, and I swear I will crush it. Why all this antagonism towards Sensei? When really all he said was, I'm just glad you're back. And surely Phos must have seen the shock on his face when they first saw them on the beach. I don't like where this is going. It's lying amongst the jellyfish. Phos! Thank you. Oh, is that the jellyfish thanking Phos? Maybe Phos told them about what's happening on the moon and that they have a plan. Wait, no, sorry. The jellyfish is separate from the admirables. Okay, sorry. I just had a bit of a brain freeze there. We want to hear more about the moon. Do you remember anything? Huh? Good question. The ground on the moon is slippery, and I feel like there were a lot of round things lying around. Round things. Wow, for being so disgusting, that information is awfully useless. I never wanted to go there. I knew I never wanted to go there. It's creepy, right? But I guess it's pretty much what I pictured. That sounds so weird, I can't even imagine it. That's all I got. The sun is so high. Uh-oh, back to the beach. It took way too long to find Phos. I was giving my regards to the jellyfish. Benito, let's go. Yeah. Huh? Shouldn't you go too? I have a free day. Yellow asked to take a break today. Who? Oh, that's Daya. Yellow asked to take a break today. I'm a little worried. That's the next targeted gem. Okay, so it was yellow. I see. I'd be worried too. So, Phos, I bet you really remember all kinds of things from the moon. Oh, Daya, but you're so nice. You're pretending you forgot and only telling us a little at a time so you don't scare any gem. Or am I wrong? Daya showing a little bit of depth of thought there, which is nice, but I think they've got Phos a little bit wrong. I'm not afraid to hear about the moon. I want to go to a place without Bort. No. I did not expect that from Daya at all. I mean, I knew that. Okay, so their thing is like a love-hate relationship with Bort. If Bort wasn't there wouldn't be that impossible standard for them to meet. And okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense, but I thought you loved Bort so much that you wouldn't be able to leave them. Maybe it's because it's been a long time now since, Daya has partnered up with Bort, and so the distance, even though it did make them grow fonder, it's also enabled them to imagine life without Bort. Interesting. I tried everything I could think of, but I could never change. Never mind. If I remember anything that could help you, Daya, I'll tell you right away. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to it. Oh, so they've got Daya on a hook as well. Yellow. Eep. Oh, it's you, Phos. Your eye glows? That's I know. It's disgusting. Daya was worried about you. Yeah. You came back, and that means there's hope for the others too. Of course, maybe you're just special, so maybe there's not hope. And you're nothing if not special. I totally get it. Still, it's all I can think about. I can't concentrate on battle. Hope can be a dangerous thing, yeah. Especially for Yellow, who has so much more to hope for given their length of their life and how many partners that they've lost. Do you want to see them? I want to apologize. Ruby, sapphire, green diamond, pink topaz. Oh, pink topaz is so cute. Kind of like Padbaracha. Are all the pink gems sort of like with the wavy, flowy hair and the big smile, happy-go-lucky personalities? Even if they can't come back like you did, I at least want to talk to them one more time. The Diamond family is special. If I remember anything about the moon, I'll tell you. Thanks. Oh, that line. If I remember anything, it's like Phos just casting out the net. It feels so underhanded and sneaky and not above board what Phos is doing, but I get why they're doing it. So I've got Daya and Yellow. Retail should be willing to. Isn't it? You shouldn't count your chickens before they're hatched. I have a good chance with Lex, Sphene, and Peridot for the same reason as Yellow. Oh. I guess, yeah, I didn't think of Alex as like balancing their anger with the chance to see Chrysoberyl again. Yeah, okay. Red Barrel would probably have an interest in lunar fashion. And Benito seemed surprisingly curious about the moon. If I can get 2 gems every 2 days, that's good progress. That is, even just putting it like that, 2 gems every 2 days, that's a really high ask. That's good progress. I may not get everyone, but I can get 10, maybe even half of us. Cinnabar. Here we go. You're a careful gem. You'll probably get mad and tell me there are too many uncertainties. So I'll save you for last. 26 days. Phos! A black spot. The big one we saw 3 days ago, it's back. On the west coast, I'll go get Sensei. See you there. Huh? That wasn't our deal. Oh man, remember? Okay, Phos probably doesn't remember this because they've lost a lot of parts since then, but you know when Ventricosis made a deal with the Lunarians and then they just ended up demanding more, and so they kind of broke off that deal. So they're clearly not beings that keep their word. Yep, they're back. End of chapter 59. Alright, bit of water. Okay, chapter 60, suspicion. Suspicion on whose part? Oh god, so Phos has to pretend to fight the Lunarians? I don't know how they're gonna do this. Phos, I'll take care of it. Thonk. What is that? Yeah. What? Okay, so they got skewered by Cicada's big spear. Phos! Set. Grunk. Squeak. Okay, they're trying to communicate. I was so worried I had to come back. What? Oh, so that spear is actually an instrument that allows Cicada to communicate with Phos using the squeaks, the air. But we can't breathe here, so... Oh my goodness. This is so smart. I love it. I talked it over with our prince and got this stuff made. It lets us talk while we fight. Isn't that amazing? That's our prince for you. Unreadable face. Illustrious Phos, is the mission going well? I can see the unreadable look on Aechmea's face. I'm very glad to hear it. Then I'll see you later, as planned. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. So they're able to keep tabs on Phos, and Cicada is able to... Cicada is so cute. I was so worried I had to come back. Oh man, I love the ingenuity of that invention. Crack. Ooh, so they recreated Antark's heel with the Lunarian shoes. Okay, so Phos just has to slice them, pretend that they're defeated. Phos, we did it! Are you okay? I'll go get Rutil. I think so. You fell into the sea when you came back too, but your powder didn't come off. You're right. I totally didn't notice. Oh, it's not resin. It must be moon technology. Huh, that's incredible. Benito. So, what for Benito? It's curiosity. Are you interested in the moon? No, not especially. I wouldn't say interested. They are the enemy after all. Some gems are like that. It's just, I mean, I'm pretty much the most normal of all of us, right? And the Lunarians are as abnormal as you can get. So I guess I kind of admire them. What? Benito is the most normal of them? Well, I mean, I guess. I know that they have a string of bad luck. Like, that's their thing. It's interesting, though, to think that they feel themselves to be a bit plain. Nepti is, like, really weird, you know? Nepti is really weird. See? We spend so much time together that I start to wonder, is there any point in being normal? And sometimes I lose faith in myself. Don't tell Nepti, okay? I won't. Oh, okay. Again, it's the partner dynamic, the one partner that the other partner feels is showing them up, even though they love them. But it's like, I just wish I didn't have to deal with that and just be able to be myself. Oh, interesting. So, okay, there's a lot more gems than I thought that would be open to the idea of going to the moon. Lately, I've noticed Lex is acting strange. I went to see why that gem hasn't emerged from the dorms and found Lex staring into space, hair flashing different colors. I tried to say something, but I didn't get a response. Yeah, Sphere Peridot and Red Barrel have all been making uncharacteristic mistakes too. Okay, so has Phos already gotten to Lex? I've gotten reports that they're out of materials. I didn't want to say it, but you think it started when Phos came back? Yes, more specifically, when they started hearing Phos's stories. Don't you agree? Phos has been having story time at night. Oh, man. I mean, someone had to notice it, and it was probably going to be Yuke, who has pretty significant brains as well. And then there was one last one, and I put it in my mouth, but it was kind of gooey and sticky. I wonder what it was. You put an unknown substance in your mouth? Silicon. Ew, that is so gross. Blech. So that gem aversion to eating or putting anything in your mouth. So what are you telling them about tonight? Oh no, Yuke. So maybe it's Yuke and maybe Jade that Phos has to fight against later. I'm glad to see that your memories are back. But if we don't all share the same information, imaginations will run in different directions and make gems nervous. Out of consideration for your health, Sensei says you don't need to report, but I wish you would tell us before giving random bits of information to everyone. Oh, sorry. We know you must be feeling uneasy too, Phos, and we're sorry. Don't stay up too late. We won't. Oh, that was the first shot fired. Even though, like, you know, they're being really nice about it and framing it in out of a sense of concern for Phos, that was definitely a tension-filled interaction. I knew Phos's stories were dangerous. They are? Phos never says if the moon is good or bad, so it's up to the listener to decide. They all start picturing the moon that works best for them. I remember another gem who always seemed to be testing us. Yes, it was Lapis Lazuli. Lapis really was clever and kind, which is Phos too, but in some ways that gem made me worry. It was like the genius had more fun satisfying intellectual curiosity than using any of that brilliance for the good of soul. Oh, very Ravenclaw, actually. And it's only to be expected that Phos would inherit that quality along with Lapis's head. But I sense more to it than that. I have a crazy thought that's also very sad. Is the gem who came back from the moon really Phos? Oh. Man, you just nailing the matter on the head. What they said about the listener deciding what is good and what is bad was also really interesting as well. Given how meta this is, I feel like there's any story, right? Or the Houseki no Kuni, whatever. It's like they all present events and people and personalities, and then it's up to us to decide who's good or bad, or something in between. There's often just a huge gray area, and things are never as simple as they seem. And so I love that commentary on the listener deciding, or the reader in our case. Man, Yuke. Yeah, Yuke's just sniffing something super sus. And interesting that they already kind of had a sort of worry about lapis lazuli as well beforehand, which is something new. The Lunarians say that the moon was part of our planet a very long time ago too. But their landscape and way of life are so much different from ours. Then maybe if we spent time on the moon, we would have had completely different personalities too. That could be 30? 80? It doesn't really matter. Yeah, they don't really care who's who themselves either. Oh wait, actually it does. We've been together since birth, so it's scary to think of us being taken to the moon together. But what scares me the most is the thought of being separated. Oh, lately I've been wondering if there's some safe way to practice being apart. I haven't told 80 though. I'll think of one. You will? Thank you. Or with a split even in the twin amethyst gems. Not a split, but just a new thought that has occurred that is like, well, maybe I want my own identity. So they want a safe way to practice being apart. And so, okay, so one of them goes to the moon, the other one stays on Earth. Oh man. 30. I don't know if 80 is going to really take to that. And of course I heard it. Dia Yellow, Rutiel Lex, Sphene Peridot Red Barrel, Bonito Amethyst 33. It is a little bit heartbreaking that Amethyst 33 is really seriously considering separating themselves out from their twin. It makes total sense. Like, I totally understand why they would want to. I could definitely stand to work harder on some of them, but Yuka's onto me. I have to call it good. Alright. They're like, I'll give you what you want. Hup. Oh, Cinnabar. Is this the conversation? Yep. There they are. Are they going to freak out and run away this time? Chapter 61, Parting. Oh, I love how Phos is just kind of smiling and looking down over the edge at Cinnabar. Now it's happened. A gem has come back from the moon. Oh, are they saying that to reassure Cinnabar that they knew what they were doing and that they remembered them telling, they didn't want them to go back, and so to go to the moon in the first place, and so they're like, well, I'm back now. It's all fine. You heard that, huh? It turns out Sensei was a tool for humans. Humans are creatures that existed in the past. The Lunarians say that the humans made Sensei to work for them. How are you doing so far? Yeah, that figures. So just wait until I'm finished. Apparently the Lunarians are trying to get Sensei to work as that tool. But unlike any of the tools we know, Sensei is sentient, as you are aware, and so it's not going very well. They kidnap us to provoke Sensei. They're trying to force their tool to get to work by inspiring anger, slowly taking everything our leader loves. I'm going back to the moon in 3 days. Oh, this is just full on just being straight with Cinnabar, which I do appreciate. Anyway, Cinnabar's too smart to be fed some crap about, that isn't true. So if we go to the moon by our own free choice, we'll shock Sensei's system like never before. Cinnabar seems to be taking this in very calmly. And if we can make the Lunarians' wish come true, then I would bet we'll be able to change in a big way. Referring to their Mercury. Come with me this time. Come with me and Dire and Yellow and the others. But I'd feel bad for Sensei. I'm not going. No. No, they're going to be on opposite sides of this impending civil war. And that's that. Let's just walk away. Damn it. I mean, I don't know what I wanted. I at least wanted Cinnabar and Phos to be on the same side, so... That's so stupid. Okay, they're not done yet. Sensei wasn't born the same way as us. We were never even related. Oh, is that what Phos thinks? Like they're not family and so they have no obligation to Sensei? Oh, that's a little bit cold, isn't it? Like, Sensei lovingly sculpted all of them and educated all of them and gave them roles and stuff. We only follow that rockhead because we're not strong enough to fight back. Why should we have to feel any sympathy for that jerk? All Sensei did for us was drag us into this big war. Cinnabar, are you listening to me? Shut up. Not so loud when we're by the school. You'll wake every gem up. Sorry. But I'm not finished. Phos, be gentle. I don't know if you're pushing Cinnabar further away or not. And also because I think Cinnabar appreciates that Sensei allowed them to do the night patrol because it was Cinnabar's idea for that. And Sensei agreed because he understood that for someone like Cinnabar, they need a purpose in their life. Otherwise, they're just going to go crazy or want to just die and disappear. Man. The Lunarians only want Sensei. It has nothing to do with us. In fact, we're in danger just being close to Sensei. They're not getting through. Besides, the moon isn't all that bad. I've seen it. Everyone loves you, even the Lunarians. What? Oh, this is Cinnabar talking. You don't understand what it's like to be alone. I'm going back to the moon before daybreak. Well, if you went with everyone, then you wouldn't be alone, right? On the moon, they can stop the venom from coming out of you. Do you still want to stay? I still want to stay. Oh man, it's so fascinating. Like, you would think that Cinnabar, out of all of the gems, is the one who is most insecure about who they are. Obviously because of the venom and, the whole everything I touch dies and I can't even participate in society normally. I don't even have a normal job that is actually useful because, the Lunarians never attack at night anyway. But here, it's like all of the other gems are thinking about, okay, what they want to change about their situation or about themselves. And they're all willing to take a chance at changing that by going to the moon with Phos. And yet Cinnabar is probably the most secure in where they are right now. They're like, yeah, haven't been happy with where I am, but I'm also not so unhappy that I'm going to abandon Sensei and go to the moon with you. Oh man, I appreciate the strength in saying that for Cinnabar. Cinnabar, what happened? What do I do? Where did I go wrong? Yeah, I don't know if it was anything that Phos did, but it's just Cinnabar being a real tough ass. Never mind that. There's no time. Daya, shh. When the moon just starts to sink toward the horizon. Oh man, look at all of them. I notice that the younger babies like Watermelon and Goshen are not included in this. Maybe because they're just too young and don't really have any regrets yet. Wait. Come to the Cape of Emptiness. Now I just need Cairngorm. Cairngorm. Huh? It's so cute that Cairngorm sleeps with a bunch of shit or puppies. I'm going back to the moon. Okay, take care. I want you to come with me. No. Please, 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 please. Wow, the annoyingness. Don't touch me. You'll hurt someone. Are you serious? Yep. Can we come right back? Nope. Then, seriously speaking, I can't. Somebody has to take winter duty. That's okay. Anyone can do winter duty once they get used to it. You seriously 100 years of my life. Sigh, you're exactly like Lapis when you get like that. I hate it so much. But you are gonna do what Phos asks, right? Okay, off we go. What? Now? Yeah, they're in. Ugh, you're not giving me much of a choice, are you? Yeah, so they've never stood a chance against either Lapis and now Phos, who is sort of Lapis. Do they all know about each other's betrayal? Or I guess they all find out when they see each other at the Cape. Shh. Here we go, here we go. You know what though? I just feel like Aechmea has something else planned as soon as the gems who willingly go to the moon get up there. And it's not going to be great. Phos is going to be so mad and they'll be betrayed all over again. It'll be like a double cross. It just has to be. Let's go. Oh god. Oh. That's the end of chapter 61. So wait, I'm gonna count. Okay, let's do a roll call. Phos, Cairngorm, Yellow, Benito, Amethyst 33, Daya, and Alex. Where's Rutil? I thought Rutil was coming as well. Yeah, I think that's Rutil. But Rutil isn't there on that last panel because I can't see their robes. This is so crazy. Oh my goodness, we have to get into the next volume ASAP. And you know what? I do wonder if Sensei sort of knew that this was all happening. There's just no way that he's oblivious to it all. he probably has some kind of plan even in this situation. I just don't know what it would be. Land of the Loungewear. Why do you always make me wear this stuff just to sleep? Between Red Beryl and Cairngorm, I love their dynamic. Just to sleep in? I said nothing. There. Happy? Whoa, what is that? Looks like some empress wear. Don't look at me like that. You put it on me. You do this every year. It hurts my feet. Oh, sorry, it's not what you think. It's just without Ghost, you're a little smaller than everyone else, you know? It takes a different concept and balance. It's not exactly easy, but I super love the challenge. Oh, I guess that makes sense. What is that? Butterfly wings? I can't sleep in. You can and you will. I thought they were gonna say you can stand in that and sleep. Even if you have to stand in it, that's what you will wear. The end. Alright, Sini. Oh, a lot of translation notes this time. Okay. Care for a bite. Oh, so this is the, okay, feeding that Aechmea was doing. While the consequences of Phos's action here remain to be seen, myths and legends from all over the world have it that eating food from the land of the dead seals the diner's fate, preventing them from ever returning to the land of the living. Ah, interesting. In Japanese mythology, the practice is called yamotsuhegui, meaning eating from the kitchen of Yomi. The most famous figure to have done this was Izanami, the mother of Japanese deities, who was unable to return with her husband and thence became the queen of Yomi, the underworld. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I guess Phos, whether knowingly or unknowingly, is now stuck with, I guess stuck, because it's not like they can't leave the moon, they just did. But it's like they've chosen their side now, and that they've chosen to go against Sensei and rip everything away from him. And once you take that step, you can't go back. Hexagonal diamond. Hexagonal diamond, also known as Lonsdaleite, as the name suggests, diamond with a hexagonal crystal structure as opposed to regular diamonds, which are cubic. The gem was first discovered in meteorites. Or where the impact of hitting the Earth from space created enough pressure to transform the graphite of the meteorite into diamond. Since this discovery, science has learned how to synthesize Lonsdaleite in the lab, and while impurities will reduce the hardness of the mineral, pure hexagonal diamond has been tested to be significantly harder than regular diamonds. Interesting. So Sensei, what his material was made of is most likely the meteorite that hit Earth. Well, one of the meteors that hit Earth and became a moon later. It also explains why the the Lunarians haven't been able to successfully create a proper synthesis of pure hexagonal diamond, because it's the pressure that you would need would be insane. Synthetic gems versus real ones. Synthetic is a fancy word meaning not created by nature, and in the case of gemstones, the term has a reputation for referring to fakes. However, in reality, a synthesized gemstone created in a lab can be identical in appearance and chemical makeup to their naturally formed counterparts, and are therefore every bit as real. This would be why Congo may have a difficult time telling the difference between moon-made clones and the real Lustrous. Yep. Yeah, I guess the only way to tell the difference would be whether the inclusions take to that material or not. Like, if they do take, then it means it's natural. Even if not, then it's synthetic. Interesting. Maybe again explaining why Sensei feels, I don't know, does he have a sense of inadequacy because he is technically synthetic? But he's not made of synthetic material. It's more that he was man-made. So not shaped by natural forces. Yeah, I don't know. Lunarian fashion. As a machine made for prayer, it is fitting that Congo would be designed to look like a priest. Specifically, he dresses in the style of a Japanese Buddhist monk. Hence, when the Lunarians come to Earth, they take the forms of Buddhas and bodhisattvas. Yep, okay. Yeah, and then once they go back to the moon, it's just like, oh, everything gets let down, and yeah, interesting. Cicada. In China, cicadas represent rebirth. Yes, in Mulan. And good luck because of their life cycle. The young cicadas drop from tree branches to live underground until they emerge, sometimes years later, at which point they go high into the trees and shed their outer skin for one more time before they become adults. In Japan, because the life of the adult cicada is so short, the insect is a symbol of transience and the impermanence of all things. I see. Interesting. I mean, cicada did seem to come back to life again and just take reform again, even though he got smashed by Sensei. So that's interesting. 49 days. Yes, there must have been some significance with that period of time. Some schools of Buddhism believe in an intermediate period between death and reincarnation that lasts 7 weeks. Japanese Buddhism has it that the spirit spends this time wandering the afterlife before returning to the world of the living. Okay, so interesting that the land of the living are the Lustrous, where the gems are, and the land of the dead are the Lunarians. That's an interesting contrast. Even though, yeah, I mean, I guess the gems are formally inorganic beings who were turned organic by, millions of centuries of evolution. And the Lunarians are just, I guess, spirits in limbo who need rest. Waiting to see if I'll sink myself. When someone is suspected of wrongdoing, sometimes the strategy to catch them is to let them do their own thing until they get themselves into trouble, or lead investigators to enough evidence to convict them. The Japanese word for this is oyagaseru, which literally means to let swim. Oh, I see. Yeah, so it would be like, for us it would be let out enough rope till you hang yourself. But it seems like Phos has been fairly successful in their mission to turn a significant number of gems against Sensei, or not against Sensei at least, but be willing to abandon Sensei for better things on the moon. Lunarian rabbit ears. Yes, that's right. The reader may have noticed that most of the Lunarians have what appear to be rabbit ears protruding from their hair. The rabbit on the moon, yeah. This may be because, according to Japanese tradition, the moon is home to rabbits. Specifically, the craters on the moon form an image that, from Earth, looks like a rabbit pounding mochi rice cakes. It's so cute. And that's it. Oh man, guys, what a crazy few chapters. And I mean, as expected, but a lot of surprising things in there that I'm keen to talk about. Wow, those chapters felt like they flew by. All right, so the things that surprised me most about how Phos's plan went, I think it would have to be Daya, Benito, and Amethyst 33. Daya, because I never imagined that they would actually act on separating themselves completely from Bort. Seeing going to the moon as a way of finally being free of that crushing pressure to be just as good as Bort really says a lot about how much Daya has suffered internally and how her sense of self-worth has really been absolutely crushed. With Benito, it was definitely the first time, right, that they've expressed feeling inadequate to Nepti. Maybe there were hints here and there that they feel a little bit plain next to their wacky gem family. So having that abnormality of the Lunarians translate into admiration was really interesting. It felt like it came from out of left field, but I can see it. Amethyst 33 also felt like it came out of nowhere, but I think probably more because we just haven't spent that much time with that gem. And when you think through what it means to have a twin gem that looks like you, shares your name, and is essentially identical to you, so much so that even you yourself sometimes don't bother distinguishing between them and yourself, it does make sense that would bring up a lot of identity crisis issues, including maybe, I guess, stoke this intense longing to feel what it's like to actually have your own individuality. I was surprised at how easy it seemed to get Alexi on board as well, just given how much they seem to hate the Lunarians, but maybe I neglected just how much that is counterbalanced by the overwhelming guilt that they must feel about losing their partner, Chrysoberyl, and that a shot at seeing them again, no matter how, crazy, or a chance at saying sorry, like Yellow, or maybe even a shot at rescuing them is worth setting aside that anger for the time being. And I guess generally I was expecting far more loyalty towards Sensei and that being more of a struggle. But seeing how many of them actually want to go to the moon with Phos, it speaks to how deeply rooted each of their insecurities and guilt and tiredness is. So much so that it's not that they don't love Sensei or that they're starting to hate him, which is what Phos kind of feels like they're doing. It's just that their struggles bear so much more weight than the love that they do have for Sensei. As for the gems who are likely not going with us and who would even try to stop the rest of them from leaving, Yuke and Jade, obviously, I feel like Yuke is going to be a huge wrench in Phos's future plans, not just because they are incredibly smart and already suspicious, not just of Phos, but previously of Lapis, but their reaction to Phos's nightly story times was also really insightful. So Phos was basically feeding the other gems information or knowledge really about the wider world, and it kind of felt like the tiny beginnings of the gem version of the Enlightenment, this sudden society-wide realization that you can think and do and believe different things that maybe what you've been taught your whole life to accept isn't completely right, and there are other options available before you. And in any case, it's something for you to decide for yourself, not some higher up, not society, not some other structured religion or organization. By contrast, the way that Yuke and Jade, or really Yuke, emphasized that it was important that everyone gets the same information and, that it be vetted by Sensei, that it's dangerous if you don't specify something as good and something as bad for everyone else. It sounded eerily similar to what takes place or the way that things are done in more liberal societies where political narratives are very tightly controlled by the government to ensure that the population are kept under wraps, and things like rebellion is made as unlikely as possible. And it's always couched in, like, that control is always couched in these really nice terms like, preventing extremism or combating disinformation and protecting the people, which in most cases there's almost like a grain of truth in all of those euphemisms, but really it's just thought control. And I just thought that there was a really interesting parallel there. The other reason why those two in particular don't really seem like they're going to get on board is probably because they have the healthiest and most long-lasting working relationship out of all of the gems. So Jade like relies on Yuke's level-headedness and maths and thinking and reasoning, while Yuke is completely fine with letting Jade take the leadership role, and they're happy to just play a support role even though it's really them doing the influencing. So there's no antagonism between them, there's no feelings of inadequacy, and I'm pretty sure they were paired up with each other right from the beginning. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but basically they have a perfect working relationship and there's no reason for them to change that or to feel like, you know, they need to change themselves or wish that there was an option like going to the moon. I think likewise with Bort, I don't think they've lost a partner to the Lunarians either. Nothing so traumatic as that. And more than that, the basis of their character, their entire life's work and their entire purpose is to fight Lunarians. And so it doesn't seem likely or even possible at all for them to consider Phos's offer, because if you don't have an enemy to fight, then what would become of Bort? So in a way, Bort has almost the opposite problem to the other gems who want to go, who want to stop fighting, and who would much rather see their lost partners than continue this eternal war. Also, after the initial rescue of Phos on the beach, Bort was conspicuously absent from the rest of the chapters, where, you know, Phos slowly plants seeds of doubt and rebellion in the other gems. And I don't know, I guess Bort is an open and shut case, and so they don't really need to focus on that. The last gem I suppose we should talk about is Cinnabar. Surprisingly, I was not surprised that they would choose to stay with Sensei. I found Cinnabar rejecting Phos's enticing offer that there might be a chance to cure their poisonous mercury. I found the rejection of that to make a lot of sense. And I think Phos really misread Cinnabar quite seriously there. Because to me, and going back to the whole finding a new job for them, implicit in that promise was that they would be able to, that Cinnabar would be able to become useful and valued by being who they are. So not by changing fundamentally their material composition, not by, you know, getting rid of that liquid silver trait of theirs, but by turning that trait from a perceived weakness into an actual strength. And so the promise that Phos put forward of, oh, you know, you might be able to change yourself on the moon just fell kind of flat even to me. And so I'm definitely on Cinnabar's side on that. The other admirable thing about Cinnabar is the fact that they are so good because they don't want to leave Sensei behind all alone, because they understand what it's like to be alone. And they say, you know, Phos, you wouldn't understand, even though, you know, Phos experienced all of the ridicule and being looked down upon at the beginning. It's true that they have been quite accepted generally by most of the other gems, even if they gave them a really hard time. And, you know, as Cinnabar said, even the Lunarians like her or them. And I just wonder what Antark would say to Phos if ever, in case Phos does successfully rescue all of the gems that have been ground into sand. The question would then be, well, because Antark's last wish for you was to make sure that Sensei wasn't lonely, and now you've just gone and not only have you left him, but you've led a bunch of other gems to leave Sensei. And so I don't know how that is going to work out. I don't think Phos has, like Cinnabar said, they haven't thought so far ahead yet. And so I don't know, I guess we'll see. But man, props to Cinnabar for just being a real one and being so loyal to Sensei. The other question is, why is Sensei not reacting more to Phos being suspicious and like an open rebel? The theory I want to believe in, but is probably not the case, is that he just loves Phos. And despite most probably knowing that what Phos is doing, causing dissent and confusion amongst the gems, persuading a good proportion of them to leave Sensei and go to the moon. As a doting parent, maybe he's just like, I'll let the chips fall where they may. He might feel like he can't blame Phos for how they feel, given all of the things that he has had to suppress within him. That it might even do them some good to take a trip to the moon, and he'll deal with whatever fallout comes from that. What he won't do is to force his kids to stay or to make, a huge effort to prevent them from finding out the truth for themselves on the moon. And ironically, that might put a dent in Phos's plans, because if Sensei already is very accepting of all of that, then he's not going to be so shocked as to revert back to his original settings and suddenly be able to pray again. I actually don't even know where that idea came from. This idea that you can traumatize the machine back into working again. It just doesn't seem very intuitive and just seems like a total stab in the dark made by the Lunarians, and Phos is just running with it. I was like, isn't a better idea just to talk to Sensei and ask him why he won't pray for the Lunarians? I don't know. It seems like Phos is just hell-bent on pitting themselves against Sensei, and I don't think that's very smart. Like, they were able to directly ask Sensei, are you a tool that was created by the humans? And he answered them. And so I was like, why don't you just keep going with that line of questioning and ask why you don't pray for them, and then maybe negotiate something from there. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. Again, it would be great to have some external opinions about that, but at this stage it just seems like Phos is flailing around and causing all of this division for nothing. The other possibility is that Sensei is working on a counter plan of his own, and we'll have a talk, like he'll show up at where we left off, where all the other gems are getting ready to leave, and I guess convince them otherwise. Man, the way that this volume concluded just adds so much fuel to the fire, and I'm keen to get cracking on the next volume as soon as possible. So as I've said, if I've missed anything, or if you want to share any thoughts about anything that's happened, please feel free to leave a message and we can talk it out in the comments. Thank you guys for being so patient and for being so great for reading this story through with me. Until next time, take care and be good.